Welcome to Malcolm and We, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming platform heard round the world and beyond. I go and beyond deeper.
Love it.
Anyway, I'm the host, Malcolm Berman, the co-host, Yana Larson, and Yana, introduce our special guest.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Today, certainly. Today we have Edward A. Casillas, and he is a proud father of three wonderful children and a grandfather to two cherished grandchildren. His deep commitment to family extends into his professional life, where he has become a well-respected and recognized expert in father and family advocacy, particularly within juvenile justice, child welfare, and family serving organizations. Edward began his family advocacy journey with a transformative experience during his involvement with the Department of Child Safety that reshaped his approach to life and fatherhood. His collaborative success with the juvenile justice and child welfare systems solidified his passion, leading him to establish a fatherhood support mission that has provided invaluable assistance to numerous families. His deep understanding of the challenges faced by fathers navigating new systems has made him a key advocate and a leader in the field. With over 15 years of experience, Edward has played a pivotal role in initiatives that support fathers and families. Edward has created and led transformative initiatives that impacted both individual and systemic levels. His exceptional leadership and unwavering dedication have received widespread recognition, including the prestigious 2021 Casey Excellence for Children Birth Father Award. Through his ongoing dedication, Edward warmly invites collaboration and connection, believing that together we can create stronger, more supportive environments for fathers and families. Welcome, Mr. Casillas. Thank you for being here. And
Thank
yes,
you.
fatherhood, pretty important and not always there, in, especially in certain demographics. And so, what have you found is the key to making that happen and to help it perpetuate?
I just thank you for having me, and it's nice to meet both of you. It's just an honor to be here, share my story, and after hearing all that, it's like, wow, is that really me? But it's not about me. It's about the children and the fathers. So, I've been doing this work for a little while now, and the reason why I got into it was because I seen there was a need for fathers to get the support they need to be better fathers, to maybe deal with the issues that they had growing up that interferes with their perspective of what a father is. But most importantly, the children and the relationship with fathers and children. So, with my own personal experience, I have my three children and the grandchildren that was mentioned earlier, and they range from 29 to 17. And I realized in my fathering that there were some issues that kept coming up. And so there was this maybe distance in my relationship with my kids. So what I was able to do is kind of go back to my childhood, go back to the relationship with my father. And I also have a stepfather who they're both dad to me, both very dear to my heart, and they both bring something special to my life. But there was a disconnect there. There wasn't like this strong attachment that I really needed as a little boy. And that kind of, came over into my adulthood as a father, and I didn't know how to really bond and attach with my daughters and my son the way I needed to be. So with that realization, I was able to get some education for myself, work on that. And along that journey and the involvement with the Department of Child Safety, I noticed there were so many other fathers who had similar stories. And so I wanted to be able to give fathers a space that I didn't really have, create that space where they could come together, share their stories, build on those strengths that we all have as parents, both moms and dads. But with fathers, you don't hear a lot of them coming together and talking. So that's really how I started this, was to do a support group, come get the fathers together, share our stories, share our struggles, be vulnerable with each other, and help us to, have a better relationship with our children. So that's kind of how I started this, and it started out small. I've been doing a lot of work here in Arizona. I've done some national work as well, trying to build these safe spaces for those fathers to come together. So that's kind of the beginning of this fatherhood journey. What I've really noticed is when the fathers do come together and they're vulnerable and they're able to talk about their childhood, there's so many similarities. A lot of little boys were told, don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't cry. You can't show fear, you can't show these emotions. So a lot of the times, what does it turn into? Anger, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you grow up into, adolescence, teenagers, you got the rebellious teenagers, you got the anger, and then into adulthood, you don't know how to really um, express those other emotions, even recognize those other emotions. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to show fear. It's okay to cry. And with that like realization, I've seen a lot of men grow in that area, because if they're able to recognize their own emotions, they're able to recognize the emotions in their kids and be able to support them.
What was the education that you found that helped you to be able to recognize this and start forming your mission?
Yeah. Well, it started off with some basic parenting classes with some behavioral health agencies, mental health agencies, and it was very basic. But what I noticed is there wasn't curriculum specific for fathers, right? It was just kind of general. And a lot of the times it was talking about mothers. And that's great. I love my mom, by the way. I got to put that out there. I love my mom very much. But a lot of the times it wasn't, for fathers. So I felt like, okay, what about me? Like, how do I, work on this stuff? And so from there, I learned about a curriculum created by Mark Perlman, and it's called Nurturing Fathers Program. That was a 13-week program in a group session that I had went through. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I started, once I went from that, going through it, I got my certificate. I learned so much about myself. Well, I wanted to give back, so I became a facilitator. And that curriculum I've used for well over 8 years now, maybe a little bit longer. I've done it in the group setting. I've done one-on-one with fathers. And in that curriculum, the first three chapters talks about how you became a father, how you felt when you became a father. Was there fears? Was there excitement? What was it? And then the relationship you had with your dad. And that is so impactful in a lot of ways. You could either have a great relationship with your father and he guided you and he taught you and he was nurturing, or you could have a distant relationship like I expressed earlier with myself.
Excuse me, when you're
Yeah.
talking, one question I had in mind, is there a difference? To me, the broader thing is parenting. So
Mhm.
parenting is both the father and the mother.
Right.
Now, are there different things that a father can teach that a mother can't teach? Or are there certain feelings that the father has that the mother doesn't have, or that the mother has and the father doesn't have? Because you're talking about compassion and crying. It's almost like not crying is a masculine thing. The mother says it's okay to cry, or okay to have fear. The father says no. But in actuality, do both of them can contribute the same thing to the child?
So both mom and dad are unique and special in what they bring. Now they can have some similarities. They both can discipline, they both can nurture. But a lot of the times traditionally when you're talking about fatherhood and masculinity, you don't hear a lot of nurturing, right? You say, "Oh, that's more mom's nurturing." Dad is usually the disciplinarian. He's making sure things get done. Right, right. But studies have shown that, fathers can be nurturing. It may be in a different way. So they both bring something equally important, but in a different way. So it could be the father, for instance, you might have heard like, oh, the child falls down, and the dad's like, let me see. You're fine. Get up. Right.
Your
Mom might
boy,
go like,
it's okay. We don't have to rush you to the hospital,
that's
so you're
right.
fine.
That's right, right? You hear a lot about, I mean, I experienced that too, and I've done that with my boy. But mom might run over there. Oh, baby, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are
He's
you okay? Right? Well, both are, yeah, and both are equally important, right? Because, but I would say where the middle ground would be is the father acknowledging it. Oh, you fell down? Okay, let me see. You're doing all right? All right, come on, let's go. Let's get back up. It's encouraging the father, I mean, it's encouraging the child to kind of push through, like, okay, mom on the other side, it's okay to get that. It's okay to get that love, right? It's okay to get that nurturing. It's nurturing in two different ways. So the father is teaching how to be resilient, but the mother is also teaching that they're important. Like their emotions, what happened was validated. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that answered, but there's a
yeah,
lot of brain science too, and how the female brain operates, and how the male brain operates, and that's
definitely,
also brought in.
definitely. But it reminded me of a story. I have two boys, 28 and 30, and both of them played AYSO, American Youth Soccer. And the harder thing for me to do, one of them was a goalkeeper.
Mm.
And the keeper, like if there was a breakaway with a shot, and the keeper would just go out to challenge the kicker, and they'd crash. And the goalkeeper, which was my son, be laying on the ground. And I see the
Mm.
ref, motioning to the coach to come on the field to take a look at him. And it took everything, me and my wife, it took everything for us to hold on to each other and not to run onto the field and say,
Wow.
my baby, is he okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're always told,
Absolutely.
no, hold it. After we say, hey, were you hurt?
Right.
But you can't show them, well, at least for me, can't show them on the field that my baby
No.
got hurt.
Because then you look like a wimpy dad.
Right.
Right.
It look like the kid is wimpy.
Or
Right.
you're a wimpy
Yeah.
dad too. So I gotta be tough.
But
Yeah.
it's, it's sort of like, hold me. Don't let me run out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a dad might go, be angry at the other boy, right? The other player, like you ran into my son, and mom's going directly to the baby,
Right.
or her baby, and making sure he's okay. Yeah, that's a great story. It reminds me too, my boy played football freshman year, first time he played football. And he was pretty good at it, but they were running, he was defensive end, and they were running around the right side, and he broke the line and got the guy behind the line, took him down. Well, the guy got mad, and when they got up, he stepped on his ankle. And
Mm.
so I was angry, but I was also like, is he okay? So here comes my boy limping to the sideline. And I did go up to the gate. I did go up to the gate and ask him, are you okay? I'm fine, Dad. I'm fine. I'm like, okay, all right. But, he had to know that dad was there. And I think
Right.
that's another thing that children need to know, that, dad is there. Dad's available. Dad cares. And so
Yeah,
that's another
just
way to
having
show
time with
nurturing.
the gene is something, because a lot of times it's moms and everything,
Yeah.
and dad's busy, and probably a lot now with, when my kids were younger, not so many people were on their phones like
Yes.
and like having their business calls or whatever, and like waving occasionally at their child on the team. But hey, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Because I was just remembering when I was we were back in the days of having Lamaze classes. I don't even know what it's like now, but we were in Lamaze class, and the leader was going around to the dad, the dad said, "Tell us like your feelings when you knew you were going to become a father." And most of the fathers are like, "Oh, I was so excited. We've been trying for so long," or, "Oh, this is going to be our 20th child, but we're still so excited," or whatever. And then she gets to my husband, and he goes, "Loss of my independence. I wanted to just like sink into the ground." And just like, and that's kind of the dad he was. It was like loss of independence, and now I can't build my airplane. And it's like, what did I do? And it's crazy, but you know what do you find when you're asking men, like women will talk about everything. They want to talk about every gory detail about being pregnant or giving birth or whatever. And guys are like, yeah, and I mean, I don't hear men getting very, effusive about their feelings about everything. So as a guy, what do you find guys talking about when they're saying how they feel about being a dad and what it's like? Do they
Yeah,
really talk?
yeah, it's a great thing. It's kind of an unusual thing to hear about. But once these fathers get to know each other, they know it's like safe. Nobody's making fun of them. They're not no judgment. They open up. And I just want to say this about your husband. At least he was honest. At least he was
This
honest.
is
I'll give him that, you
true.
know.
I think
And
the other
yeah,
guys were honest too, but I mean,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
was that the place to say it? Anyway,
yeah. So,
he's my
um,
ex-husband, by the way.
yeah. Yeah, but when these dads come together, they share, they're vulnerable and they really share if they're scared, if this is their first child. And they may open up and say, I just don't know if I'm gonna be a good dad. I want to guide them right, and they get emotional, and which I love seeing. And some dads are like, this is my third dad and or my third son, and I'm gonna, this is great and everything's been good. And he encourages the other father. But a lot of the times there's excitement, there's fear. Um, and sometimes it goes a little deeper. I don't want to be like my dad, or
Yeah,
I want to be like my dad and pass these things on. But it's a lot of kind of like I felt too. I when I first heard that I was going to be a father. Um, my wife came home and she had these little booties, right? And she goes, "Here, look at these." And I'm like, "Oh, those are nice. Who are those for?" And she goes, "Here's these little booties." And I
it's
said,
like throwing them at you.
oh my gosh,
Right.
real? Yeah. I was like, really? Like, we're gonna
Are
have
you
a
asking such a dumb question?
yeah. And the very first thing I said was, I have to grow up. I have to grow up. And
Yeah.
that's really how I felt. And I think a lot of the times for men, it's no longer about you, right? Because that part of you is gone. Now it's about an extension of you. Now it may take you a while to get to that point and understanding that, but there's an extension of you now. And the moment you realize that, a lot of the fathers, including myself, is like, okay, I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good dad. I want to be there for them. But that's where we run into some issues where we may not have the skills to be there for them. We may not have that. And what I'm finding out and why I do the work that I do, especially like in child welfare, is there's not a lot of support. So when you hear about somebody having a baby, mom's got a lot of support. Mom's got, maybe some family. There's a lot of other women. Oh, it's gonna be great. You don't hear that about fathers. You may get the cigar the one time, is it a boy or a girl? And then that's about it. All right. So that's the whole mission for me, is providing that support for fathers, whether they're new fathers, maybe they've been a father for a while, maybe they're a grandfather. And because it doesn't stop and you never figure it all out. You never reach that, oh, like, and all of a sudden I know everything about fatherhood. You
Father
never
knows
do.
best. Yeah, that
Right.
doesn't really happen in real
Well,
life.
I don't know about you, but as I say, my boys are 28 and 30, and I'm still learning about fatherhood.
Right. Yeah.
I became father at a later age. I wasn't, my 20s or 30s, or, it was the early 50s I became a dad for the first time. But what I was wondering, does it make any difference between fathers that were in the delivery room and they saw their wives give birth? And I did. I was in the delivery room and I cut the umbilical cord, and and there's a certain, it's hard to describe the feeling. We don't have enough time, but there's a certain thing that I was attached to them.
Yeah, you'd think it
Does it
would
make
make
any
you.
difference if the father is in the delivery room, or the father is, or the traditional thing years ago when they were in the bar getting drunk with their
Yeah, like my
friends?
father, was there, I don't know how old I was before he got to even hold me because there was just so much, hospitalness around.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
born like, 100 years ago, so it was quite different.
Yeah, it's in my experience hearing from the fathers, older generation and younger generation, the ones that were in the delivery room, they seem to have this instant bond and attachment with the child, wanting to anyway, and seeing
Unless
that
they
birth.
ate first.
Yes, yes. And so I'll speak from my own experience. I was there for all three of my children when they were born, and I held all of them. I was the first one to hold them, and because mom wasn't feeling well, or whatever. But I had to get them in my arms, and I had to feel them. I needed that little body right here. I needed to look into them, and just let them know that I was there, and speak to them, and tell them I love them. And I think both mom and dad, from the beginning of conception and as the child is growing and all of that, if father could be involved to support mom, support that child, speak to the child as it's growing,
Did you
and then
gain weight with her?
yes, and support mom with whatever she's going through, and don't take it personal. Pregnant. But I think as soon as the baby's born, and there's research that shows this, both mom and dad having that early skin to skin contact
Mhm.
creates that bond and attachment for that child. So that child has this team around the child, and it's so important. So, but going back to the experiences, I've also had some fathers that were absolutely like, oh my gosh, that was crazy, and wow, that came out of there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
right?
it
Like,
changed things
yes,
afterwards. Like,
yeah, yeah. Like I should have watched the video first, uh,
yeah,
and I've had those fathers too, but in my experience, most of the fathers are just it's that instant connection. That's mine. That's an extension of me.
have you had any fathers that you just realized, wow, this is going to be a tough ride for that that family, that couple with that child is going to be kind of rough and they may not make it.
For the father, the father
Yeah,
issues and stuff.
father being able to be a part of that family to be there,
Yeah, absolutely, and that is the reality that we live in, right? And I know there's also mothers that once they have the baby, you know, they
right?
they
Just don't
just
have that
can't
maternal
mother.
instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But especially in our society, there is, an epidemic of fatherless homes and fathers, not stepping up to it, not wanting to, or just not getting the support to. So I have had many cases where either the issues from childhood weren't properly dealt with and addressed and worked on, um, or they're really young. And like in my case, I'll be very, transparent when my first child, I was 24. Well, I wanted to grow up and I wanted to be the dad, but I really wasn't. I still had, oats to sow or whatever, or so I thought. And so I missed out on a lot of my older child's, when she was little. I really did. I was there sporadically and I see the harm that it caused. Even to this day, our relationship is it's troubled sometimes and we're working on it. But I've met a lot of fathers that it's too much. A lot of fathers, they feel that they're not going to be able to because of those issues. It could be drugs, it could be other things. But a lot of the times that I've seen as well is there's this dynamic between both mother and father that is unhealthy. And so the father could be pushed out and has been pushed out of even seeing the child at times. And so I've seen family court or even child welfare be used as weaponized
Mhm.
against the father. And I've seen it against mom, a little bit, but mainly against the father. So that's a whole nother part of the advocacy is trying to support fathers in child welfare, family court that are really trying to do their best. Now they may have made some mistakes, but now they're working on it. They went to parenting class. They've got a home, they're working, they want to provide, but they really want the bonded attachment. And a lot of the times they hit a wall. And the wall that we call is a fatherhood bias. And that fatherhood bias, it doesn't have to be intentional. It's just kind of ingrained. And an
it's a
example,
rigidity in the legal system where it's just like
right,
the mother
The
is supposed to
mother,
right,
be.
the mother is closer to them. The father
yeah,
is sort of an afterthought. But
absolutely.
there was I forget who it was on one of the talk shows, and I think it was a psychiatrist, and they were talking about children and growing and what you should do. And the psychiatrist says, no matter what you do, when they become teenagers or get out of the house, they're going to go to the psychiatrist or the therapist and say, my dad did this, my dad did that.
It's so
And they're
true.
not going to be happy. So you have to do the best you can and not worry that there's no absolute thing
Right,
that you could do. You can't read a book and say, okay, this is right and that's wrong.
Well,
right,
and kids don't come with a set of instructions, and so that makes it really hard. And every child can be different. So just when you think you've got it all figured out, Then along comes that child that defies all
Or is it
guidelines.
just
And
when you thought this when you thought you had it figured out, they become
yeah,
teenagers.
That's right.
exactly.
And teenagers change everything. They change everything. They're coming into their own. They're pushing back on everything. Yeah, teenage years are great.
Everything you do is wrong.
Right.
How could you?
And you don't
Yeah,
understand anything. Things
Right.
are different now. I mean,
Right.
I've
Yeah.
heard that a bunch of times.
When you were young, things were different.
yeah, right.
And I
And
guess that's true. We do have more phone and we have social media and we have all of these different things, but human nature stays the same
Right.
throughout generations.
Now,
that's
do
right.
people have to reach out for you, or how do you get your cases, or how do you get your people to get involved with your parents?
So so right now, people can reach out to me through my email, which I don't mind giving my email out if
Yeah,
you want me to give that.
Yeah,
yeah,
we
please.
do. We to contact you.
Yeah, do you want me to say it or
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
okay, all
Just
You're
right.
allowed to promote yourself.
Okay, so it's E.A. Casillas, which is Casillas 77 at gmail.com. And so
Why
people can reach out to me.
77? Is it just what got assigned to you that was available? Like for me, it was 02, and I'm like, where did that come from?
Well, I tried to put in 7 and that wasn't available. And then 77 was. And if that wasn't available, I might have went 777. I don't know.
Okay. When someone says 77, I think 77 Sunset Strip.
Oh,
I
there you
don't know if you're
go.
old enough to
I,
remember that TV series.
I'm not
I
even,
I am
I'm
not, but I
barely.
will look it up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And you
so
also
go ahead.
work with Fredla. Um,
Yes, so yes, and I work with Fredla. Pat Hunt is the executive
we had
director there,
Millie on.
and Millie, and I love working with that team. I am working with Fredla right now as a fatherhood consultant. So that's also somewhere else that you could contact me. I don't have an email with them, but you could
It's
contact Fredla.
Fredla.org. Is that what it is? Fredla.org, capital F,
Yes.
all in caps. Oh, we also know grandmother, well, we call it grandmother Shannon Crossbear is
Oh,
the
I
lead
love Shannon.
teacher.
Yeah, she's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole
So,
team is great. Lori, everybody. They're great. I love working with them. And so yeah, you could reach me there at fredla.org and anything I could do to help or support. I also help agencies or build fatherhood programming from the ground up. I'm there to kind of consult and support. I do support fathers one-on-one, but I do a lot of supporting teams that support fathers. So any kind of organization, child welfare, family courts, behavioral health, mental health, I would give my expertise and help them build a fatherhood program because that really is the goal.
so you're
Because
like the God of fathers, right?
what's
Like
that?
the Father God.
Oh, about that. I'm just a father who's been through some stuff and
Father
want to make the
Guru.
best out there for others.
Did you find it any more difficult to be a parent in today's age with the internet, all the information that the kids can learn, all the things which you wouldn't talk about, whether it be sexual education or whether it be violence or whatever you can go on Google and almost get anything you want. Is it any more difficult raising kids now than it was back when you raised
How
yours?
would he know? Because he wasn't born yet, like when fatherhood in your day, Malcolm.
No, no,
Well,
actually, he was because his children, the oldest is my children's age.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. All
yeah.
right.
I mean, even though I might be ancient, but
So yeah, I think it is more difficult today. I think still going back to like human nature and character, we want to build morals, we want to build values in our children as soon as we can from a very young age. I know with my oldest compared to my youngest, phones weren't really out yet when my oldest was born. I think maybe the flip phones at that point. Yeah, I think flip phones.
Yeah.
But not the kind of internet that they have access to now. I mean, on your phone, you have everything
you can
there.
get anything.
Yeah. So what I
You're on
teach
your to
or
Mars if you really knew what you were doing.
yes, yeah, and now AI is coming out, and it's
Yeah.
like
That's
The
frightening.
AI can talk and it's different face. It's crazy. It really is. But what I encourage fathers to do and what I did was limit the screen time for sure. I didn't give my youngest a laptop or anything until 10 or 12.
Until he was two,
Um,
3 years old.
yeah. Yeah, now I mean, but even if you're doing that too, see what they're watching, limit what they can, put the parental controls, but also be prepared to answer some questions and build that relationship with your child to where they feel comfortable coming to you, whatever it
And
is.
and answer in ways that, I mean, not everything, the whole tutorial on everything, just like what they need to know at this time for
Right.
their age.
Anyway, Edward, believe it or not, our time is up.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
Give us where they could reach you again, because I'm sure a lot of people listening to us could use consulting by you, because it's a strange
E
world out there, a difficult world.
EACS77 at gmail.com.
Yes, EACASILLAS77 at gmail.com. That's EACasillas77 at gmail.com. And then Fredla.org. Send Fredla an email, look them up. I don't have a web page, but Fredla has a web page. Reach
And,
out to anyone from there and ask about me and any kind of support we could give.
how do you spell Fredla?
Fredla.
Like Fred and La.
Fred Law, yeah, and it's Family Run Executive Director Leadership Association.
Well, again, I thank you very much, and
Thank
good luck.
you.
If you have any more things to add, speak to Yana, and love to have you again on the show.
Yeah, part two.
I'd love that. Yes, yeah, I'd love to be
And
part of
and if
this.
you
Thank you.
and tell all your friends you're on Malcolm Presents.
Will do.
.com and Malcolm and we, and we
Malcolm
also
and We
have
is the
a
show.
podcast too. So it will be on malcolmpresents.com and his YouTube, and then on our Buzzsprout podcast, Malcolm and We.
Awesome. Great. Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend. I don't know about you, but as a basketball fan, go Knicks. Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.